Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to do a quick video here of what I've always called some really shoddy, lazy employees on an automobile assembly line. This is the 67 GTO I've been working on here, and I want to show you a section of the car that I guess they attempted to weld, but they didn't really try too hard. So I'm going to turn the camera around here and I'm going to show you what was done to this car back in 1967. This was a brand new car. This is how it left the factory. As we come in here, just to give you reference, this would be the left-hand quarter panel. So we're going to go to the left-hand inner quarter. And when we go down to the section of the inner quarter where it meets the rocker, you can see, if I can get it on the camera there, I put paint marks where the rocker is welded to the floor, where the inner quarter panel is welded to the rocker, which is welded to the floor. And as we move down, there's some more down here. Now you can see I haven't done anything except just kind of try to find out how many of these welds stuck. There are 13 welds on there. There are 13 dots. And out of those 13 dots, only 5 of them actually penetrated. So more than 50% of the welds on a pretty important part of this car, the inside of the quarter panel that is welded to that rocker down there and is welded to the floor, it's pretty important. There you go. More issues with guys at the factory just not doing their job. So you get guys that do shoddy work in body shops, and you get guys on the assembly line that do shoddy work. Somebody really wasn't paying attention there. What possibly might be hiding behind that very expensive car that you just purchased? If you bought it from a dealer, if you bought it from an auction house, if you bought it from a shop that restored the car and they didn't go through and really fix everything, what's behind me here is a good example of, if you don't know these areas are here, you know, sometimes ignorance is not bliss. And people spend a lot of money on cars like this because they see them at an auction, they have to have them, they're at a dealership. Oh man, that car's gorgeous, I have to have it. And they shell out a lot of money. And I'm going to show you what could be hiding. So again, we're going to use the 67 GTO as the example. Okay, what we have here, 67 GTO, ended up needing a lot of work, but this video is more about what you might have hiding underneath an expensive restoration that wasn't done thoroughly, or a cheap restoration that they sold the car for top dollar. One of the issues you can run into, and I have run into a lot, it happens, assembly line issues. I don't know, everybody's got their own stories. Maybe it was late on a Friday, or it was early Monday morning, and the guy on the assembly line, he thought he welded the car together. Good enough. Well, here's a good example. This is the bottom of the left-hand quarter panel. Now, I've already replaced the quarter panel, but that's not what we're talking about here. The problem we have with this car, or with any car where something isn't done right at the factory, is I see this a lot. You get spot welds that, for whatever intents and purposes, they just didn't do it right. They didn't make sure it was welded. It wasn't inspected. You know, not really sure why, but this right here, as you follow down here, this is supposed to have 13, I think I counted more than 13. I think I counted 16 or 18 total welds. You can see the dimple on the top side, but look what we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's a total of 7 of 16 welds. There is a huge section across there that was never welded. And that's a big issue because that just causes movement in the car. So this car wasn't right from the factory. And if we move down to the rocker panel that I removed from there, the way this thing is structured, that panel you saw there sits on top of here. Well, this is your floor pan, and your outer rocker sits on top of your floor pan. If I move across here, you see all those gaps, and I'm going to move down, and there's even more gaps there. There was only 3 welds that stuck on that entire, that's over 18 inches long. That's closer to 2 feet. So 3 welds, maybe 4 if I really scrutinize it. 4 welds over that entire thing. The other thing is too, a lot of times guys will look at an area, they'll never get into the rocker panel because the rocker panels look good. And for most part on this car, the rocker panels looked pretty decent from the outside. You know, this was just surface rust here. That's all this was. It's not even really pitted. This would clean up nice with a sander. That would clean up beautifully. But here's the problem again. Just as we had with the welds down there, the rest of the rocker panel had this problem on the inside. And I'm going to come around. I got the light set up. And if you look inside there, that thing is nothing but rot. So again, you look at the outer rocker, there it is, it's nice and clean. But if you look up, there's already rust and pitting there. But that whole structure inside, this is the lower cowl area by the kick panel, that whole structure is completely rotted, and that is a very crucial part of the car. The rocker panel that stretched across here was completely full of seat foam that was saturated with mouse urine, which is like battery acid. So these rocker panels, and I'm glad we're changing them, these rocker panels would have rotted. But you know, these are some of the things where you think you have a really good car and you restore it, or you buy one restored and you pay a lot of money or whatever, and this is what's hiding underneath. If you're going to spend a lot of money on a car, I know a lot of other people say it, it is true. You have to do your due diligence. If you're buying this from the shop that restored it, if you're buying this from an owner who had it restored, get pictures. Get as many pictures as you can. Get a description of all the work that was done. Because, you know, some of these cars, these guys are paying 6 figures for. And imagine paying 6 figures and you have a car that's just full of rust. You look down inside here, these are the floor braces. That's all rot inside there where that cage nut is. We'll move down to here. And same thing inside here. Inside all this bracing is rusted really bad. The metal is a lot thinner than it appears on camera. So back to what I was saying. Oh, here's another one. This part right here, that is part of the jam, the door jamb brace that was, again, never welded at the factory, and that is also very structural. So, you know, I feel for customers. They spend their hard-earned money on a car, and then a couple years later, hey, why is this starting to rust here? What's going on with this? Hey, the doors don't line up anymore. Well, that's because the shop that did the work didn't do what we're doing. And you know, my cars here, I document them with pictures and videos that we're doing here. So as you can see, we go through this car, the customer is going to have everything they need if they ever sell this car to show a prospective buyer that this car was fixed properly. So you guys, you need to do your due diligence. You need to make sure if you're spending, you know, even if you're spending $30,000 of your money, it doesn't matter the number. You need to make sure you get the cleanest car you can, and it needs to be backed up with some form of documentation or verification as to what was done. So there's my rant. There's my little tip for you guys, something to watch out for if you're going to spend the money on a car. Like I said, I know I keep repeating myself. Do your homework. Find a good car, because it's always better to start with a good car, and it's actually cheaper to buy them done anyway. But if you are buying them done, you need to make sure that if there were areas like this where there was no welds, if it's something you can see during an inspection, that is a red flag. If they get a car dipped, dipping is great. It gets rid of all the rust, it gets rid of everything. But there's one thing I don't think the dipping would ever get rid of, is the fact that these rockers were completely full of seat stuffing and all sorts of other debris. I don't think the dipping process would have got that out of there. So just imagine, you know, a customer on a car like this spends all this money to get this car restored, and if the shop doing the work didn't look inside these rockers, and really all you got to do is drill a small hole on the inner rocker and put a camera in there. They have really nice probes right now, and you can look inside the rockers and see what's there, and then when you're done, you put a body plug in it. You're done. At least you know what's there. If you let it go, you just polished up a turd is what you did. So if you like what you heard, if you'd like a little more information, if you're going to go look at a classic car, I have done this for people where I have kind of walked through the process of what to look for, where to go on the car, the certain little telltale signs of problems that are going to arise. Shoot me a message. I'd be more than happy to help anyone out. As always, hit the like button, subscribe. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. You want to make comments? Go ahead and make them. We'll see you.